News 4 today.
Now, WYFF News 4 presents For the Record.
Good morning and welcome to For the Record. WYFF News 4 is committed to bringing you important issues that are affecting our community, and that is what we plan to do each Sunday morning. This morning, we're focusing on politics and polls, how they work, why did so many miss the mark in recent elections, and how much polls could change before the primary season. Joining me this morning is Winthrop Professor of Political Science, Scott Huffman, and you are also the Executive Director of the Center for Public Opinion and Policy Research. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Glad to be here.
Now, the Winthrop poll itself, it is so many people use the Winthrop poll to get an idea of what the people of South Carolina are thinking. Take me back to how the Winthrop poll even began.
Well, you know, we're proud of the poll and what we put out. And we know that, you know, we're unbiased. Nobody else is paying for this. So, you know, people know when they get Winthrop poll results that they're getting results that aren't looking to find one particular thing or another. It actually started back in 2002. I was looking for a way to help students understand the research process. And one of the ways that, you know, I have always used data is polling data, public opinion research data. And so the origins of the Winthrop poll started with a survey lab, creating a survey lab where, and then it was completely all phone polling. Wow. Almost all landline back then in 2002, if you can remember an era when there were landlines. And so the students would get to participate. They would go through professional training, and of course we have students and non-students. We just have professionally trained callers calling. But the students would get a chance to learn about how data is collected and the science that goes into designing a poll. So when I was teaching political methodology, I would teach statistics, which you need in order to analyze data, but I also needed this way so that they could understand the complexities of how data is collected and how to do that in an unbiased and as scientific a way as possible.
Now, let's break this down even more. What is a poll? Because it's used a lot.
Right. Poll and survey are pretty much interchangeable. We use poll just because, you know, the alliteration of political poll, and it sounds neater that way. A poll is a snapshot in time. And that is the most important thing to remember. A poll can be predictive, but mainly only if you are looking at multiple snapshots in time. So a poll tells you what people are thinking right now. And we'll talk in a little bit about the science of sampling and how we make sure that we're representative. But assuming a representative poll, the survey is asking people questions about how they feel about political topics, social topics, all types of things. And we ask questions ranging from racial issues to environmental issues to political hot button issues like abortion, gun control, things like that. But we also ask opinions about leaders, things that folks are arguing about every day, the Confederate flag and everything else. And so what a poll is asking people questions, although the way you ask them questions matters. To get a snapshot in time for what the public's thinking about any given issue.
So how much thought goes into each question? And how much thought goes into each word within the question?
A lot. Let's talk about the overall structure of the poll first. For example, you have to think about the order in which the questions are going to be asked. Let me give you an example. If I were to ask a whole bunch of questions about how do you feel the economy's doing, what do you think is happening with inflation, and then I asked, do you feel that, you know, how do you think the job approval for Joe Biden? I will have primed you to think about the economy. That's called priming, putting something in the forefront of your mind. So now you're going to answer about Obama or answer about Biden through the lens of the economy. And if I had asked about crime, a bunch of crime questions, you would tell me your opinion of Biden or McMaster or whomever through the lens of crime. So you have to start with those approval questions. You can't ask any substantive questions or else you're going to be priming them. Another thing you have to worry about is the frame of the question. Let me give you an example that I give my students. Years ago in a poll, we asked them agree-disagree questions. Do you agree or disagree? I don't mind if the government keeps tabs on regular people. Well, folks are, no, of course I mind. You know, I deserve my privacy. Well, if I ask that same question a little differently, I don't mind if the government keeps tabs on regular people, if it helps keep us safer from terrorism. I have framed that question very differently. And now, in fact, the data was nearly a mirror image of each other, how they flip-flopped. So the wording and the framing goes into it. Let me give you another example. In 2008, you know, the economy, especially the financial, you know, went down the tubes. President Bush at the time injects through the Treasury Department a ton of money into financial institutions. In September of that year, 3 polls went out asking about the same program. The first one said, is this how the government ought, the government is potentially investing trillions of dollars in the economy. Are you for this or against it? People were for it. The second one said, the financial institution is in trouble. Should the government give them money, or is it not the government's job to bail out private institutions? People were against it. Right. Third poll said, do you agree or disagree with the steps the Treasury Department's taken? Evenly split. The word invest, that's a positive thing. They heard the word invest and people were for the policy. They heard the word bailout. You need a bailout, you did something wrong. Right. They were against the policy and take steps not explained. It was a coin flip.
Wow, wow. All right, well, we have a lot more to talk about, but coming up, more with Scott, including the pressure he is under in this current political climate.
Every day is a fresh start, but if you're hurt, just making it through the day can be a challenge. Call George Sink Injury Lawyers at All Nines. We have the experience to help you get your money faster. Get a fresh start on a new day. That's All Nines.
There was a time when summer's gifts filled us with gratitude, when lighthearted laughter filled the air, and rolling green meadows eagerly awaited the pleasure of our company. There was a time that reminded us of what it means to be connected to those we cherish most and to the beauty all around us. It was a joyful time. It was summer, this summer at Biltmore. Kids 16 and under experience Biltmore free.
Do something great for your family. Dick Brooks Recreational has high-quality, low-price campers and motorhomes to help create memories to last a lifetime. Start making your memories today with a pre-owned camper from Dick Brooks Recreational in Greer, where buying is easy.
Over the last 20-plus years, we've learned a lot of what our customers love.
Like how 75% of our customers are converting their tubs into showers to help prevent falls.
Or how our customers put their trust in us, which is why we only send trained bath fitter installers into your home.
Or how our customers love that we give our best price up front on your remodel.
Over the last 20 years, we've grown as a family and a company. Go with the folks you know and trust.
Give the Bath Fitter family a call today for that free in-home estimate.
From the moment you wake up, watch a newscast anywhere you are, even when you're not in front of a TV.
Your wake-up weather looks like this.
An app made for you to watch. Download the WYFF4 app now.
Where I go, you go, we go. Would you settle for a little bit of money? I wouldn't.
If you want to get all the money you deserve, call George Sink Injury Lawyers at 864-ALL-9.
They settled my case for $300,000. Just call 864-ALL-9.
Welcome back to For the Record. We are joined this morning by Winthrop University professor and political poll director Scott Huffman. Let's go back to 2015, 2016, when a large number of polls had Hillary Clinton beating Donald Trump for president. That did not happen. What happened?
Well, the national polls were measuring national sentiment, and we actually know that Hillary Clinton did beat Donald Trump in the popular vote. And that's all a national poll could really do, is look at the overall voter sentiment. But Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton in the Electoral College. So what happened is, while the national snapshots were accurate to how the national pool of voters were going to behave, they were off the mark in about 4 or 5 states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, a couple of others. And just by being off in those states by a little bit, it made it look like Hillary Clinton would also win the Electoral College. So really, it was off because you're thinking of 2 different kinds of polling. You know, we don't have a national election where whoever gets the most votes wins.
Right.
We have the Electoral College. You have to win more electoral votes in the states. So the polls that were looking at things nationally showed accurately that Hillary Clinton would get more votes, but by the polling in state by state, being off in a couple of those states screwed up which states they thought Hillary would win, and Donald Trump won enough of those to take the presidency away from her. So it has to do with polling in the states, which is a lot harder, it's smaller, fewer people are doing it, and polling nationally.
And that had to make your job so much harder.
Oh, yeah. You know, at the time, people came out with unskew the polls and all these other things. And, you know, and the flip side happened in 2022, where a lot of polling showed Republicans getting a massive number of seats in the House of Representatives. Right. And that didn't turn out. And that was actually because of a handful of very right-leaning polls flooded the market right there at the end, and you know the aggregators that look at the aggregation of the polls ended up saying, well, okay, Republicans are going to take this number of seats in the House, and in fact they didn't. So that does make our job harder. The thing to remember is a poll is an estimate. It's that snapshot, but it's also an estimate because it is a sample. So it depends entirely on the quality of your sample. And if you can get a sample that is accurate to what the population is, then you're going to be correct. But every poll has a margin of error, meaning if I say 48% of people believe this and I have a margin of error of 4%, I'm saying between 44% and 52% believe that. So if you're saying this person's going to receive 48% of the vote, you're actually saying they could receive between 44 and 52. So you have them losing, but within the margin of error, they could win.
All right. Well, tell me this. Winthrop Poll is putting so much time and effort into being as precise as possible. Not every poll out there is necessarily doing that. And in this age of social media, anyone who thinks this way could probably find a poll somewhere that agrees with them, and therefore they would post it and spread it around. How do the people sitting at home watching this right now know? How can they know who to trust?
Well, there's an organization called the American Association of Public Opinion Research, and they have what's called the Transparency Initiative. And these are polling outfits who have agreed to be completely transparent with their methodology to show all the behind-the-scenes thing of how the sample is created, how the questions are designed, and everything. And if you're a member of the Transparency Initiative, then you're the ones doing it right. We're a charter member of the Transparency Initiative. But almost all of the academic polls, all the large polls that you see, from the New York Times to the Fox Business poll to the Washington Post, they are all legitimate polls. They put their methodology out there. It includes the CNN and the Fox poll and MSNBC. Yes, even though that may be hated by one group, their methodology is out there. So you know you can trust it when you can see the methodology, which is sometimes in the weeds, because as a reporter, to get the story out, it's tough to also dig deep into the methodology. So it is tough for people to dig into that. And it comes back to the issue of who is being asked these questions, and did they take the time to make sure that those folks are really reflective of the population as a whole.
Yeah, like take Georgia, for example. You could do a poll in the rural part of Georgia and get one result. You could do it in the city of Atlanta and get another result.
You could get the completely opposite result. Then that's absolutely right. And if you accurately sampled the rural areas, you could say with certainty, a level of certainty, how they were going to vote in the rural areas. Right? And in the urban areas, how they were going to vote. And they would be completely different, but it's getting the snapshot of all of them together, and that's a little bit harder to do.
Great. Thank you so much for that. And up next, after the break, the latest Winthrop poll is expected to drop very soon, and we get get a sneak peek at what we might see.
It's the Toyota National Sales Event at Ralph Hayes Toyota. It's our last big sale of the summer, and we're dealing. Save big on Highlanders, Tacomas, and Tundras. No games, no gimmicks, just great prices.
Ralph Hayes Toyota.
At Hales Jewelers, we're here for everybody. From your engagement ring to every anniversary thereafter.
The doors are always open for anybody that wants to come in. We would love to invite you in, have you sit down, have a glass of wine with us, just chat.
And experience the quality, service, and care that has kept Greenville shining since 1856.
We're going to go above and beyond in any way that we can. You're going to love shopping here.
When morning weather is breaking news.
Let's turn right to our weather in Perella, Lewis.
Trust WYFF News 4 today.
Boy, the thunderstorms are here. They're loud and they are strong.
An hourly forecast.
Kind of in the heart of your morning commute, you are looking at downpours.
Traffic updates.
We've got a few accidents to talk about this morning.
And alerts sent directly to you on the WYFF 4 app. Focused on how the forecast will impact your day.
By 9 o'clock, it will be slowly clearing out.
The team to trust weekday mornings. WYFF News 4 today. You deserve quality news, information you can trust. WYFF News 4 delivers. Honored with Emmy Awards for outstanding achievement in breaking news and evening newscast. WYFF News 4 is working to inform you every day, committed to bringing you our best. Here, and here. The station you trust for excellence in local journalism. WYFF News 4.
It's the Toyota National Sales Event at Ralph Hayes Toyota. It's our last big sale of the summer, and we're dealing. Save big on Highlanders, Tacomas, and Tundras. No games, no gimmicks, just great prices.
Ralph Hayes Toyota.
Thanks for staying with us for the Record. We're talking political polls this morning and are joined by Winthrop University professor Scott Huffman. Now, the presidential debates are here. That said, can you give us some insight into what issues are top of mind for voters?
Well, the economy, obviously. We've had inflation falling significantly, right? It went from a year ago over 8% to it's only about 3% now. However, that's above the 2% goal that the Fed looks for, so they're still raising interest rates. So folks are really concerned about that. But also, especially for Republican voters, and we're going to be looking at the Republican presidential primary in our next poll. For South Carolina, the Republican primary, they are very concerned about the social issues, and that is everything from drag queens, books that should they be in libraries or not. Think of Florida and the anti-woke acts and the Don't Say Gay bills. Well, those type of social conservative issues are trickling throughout all the primaries in all the states. We really have very nationalized politics right now. Even if our electorate is uniquely South Carolina, the issues are very national. So we're going to be looking at those and what is driving voters. And of course, the giant elephant in the room of elephants is Donald Trump. And so we're going to be looking at what kind of voters are supporting non-Trump candidates and how many voters are still hardcore behind Trump. And he is in the lead in virtually every poll around the country right now. I suspect he probably still will be in South Carolina, but that's something to find out.
Yeah, in South Carolina, voters, Republican voters, are in a unique situation where, as you just said, Donald Trump seems to be doing very well in the numbers right now, but former Governor Nikki Haley, Senator Tim Scott, we have some names that the people of South Carolina know very well. So I throw this at you. How, when you're doing the poll, what if someone says they're going to vote for Trump, but really are thinking about a second option as well?
Well, you can add a question about, how are you absolutely certain or might you change your mind?
Oh, yeah.
And then you can basically, that says who are the hard voters and who are the persuadable voters.
So it doesn't have to be this person or that person. It can be this person and maybe this person.
This person, but I could change my mind, versus this person, I will never change my mind.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Wow. Okay, so can candidates who are getting those low poll numbers right now, in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. With the debates coming up, how quickly could that change?
That can flip everything, right? An amazing debate performance can skyrocket somebody, and a crash and burn debate performance can really put somebody back on their heels. Right now, we don't know what's going to happen in South Carolina because the debates are going to change things. Iowa is going to change things. New Hampshire is going to change things. And let me tell you, South Carolina being the first in the South, we're incredibly important. Because if a Republican in the presidential election sweeps the entire 11-state South, then they need less than 30% of all electoral college votes in the entire rest of the country. And guess who is reflective of how Southern Republicans vote? South Carolina. Iowa caucus is not like a primary, but right. Iowa caucuses are not. New Hampshire is not. Independents tend to cross back and forth there. Here, you have a reflection of how Southern Republicans vote, and so that is the real benchmark. And so us getting to that is a series of fights of those not Trump candidates needing those moments, like in the debate, like right. you mentioned, in order to gain footing to climb up higher in the polls.
And what's unique for South Carolina, too, is you don't register by party in South Carolina. No. So you could have some Democrats who aren't happy right. with the choice on the Democratic side and may know a familiar face on the Republican side and may go that right. Would your polls show that, too? Possibly.
That is, the crossover voting is something that is always seen as this could happen and it could ruin our primary. It virtually never appears.
Okay.
So the people who are most likely to, change their day and go out and vote in a presidential primary are the people who are strongest with that party. Now, that does include people who say, I'm an independent, but I lean this way. As a matter of fact, people who say, I'm an independent but lean are more faithful voters for that party than people who say, I'm a member of the party but a weak member. So if you say, I'm a Democrat but a not so strong Democrat, you are not as sure of a Democratic voter as somebody who says, I'm an independent but lean Democrat.
Right, right. Real quick, when is the next poll coming out?
Next poll is coming out in September, and we're going to have registered voters, but we're going to have a breakout of likely voters for the Republican presidential primary.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us. Still to come on For the Record.
We want to be running a ticket just to run one.
A new political party with a Republican and a Democrat working together. It may be on the ballot in North Carolina. We'll show you how, in case you missed it.
Preferred Home Services believes that every call and every customer matters.
When you reach out to Preferred for plumbing, heating,
air conditioning repairs,
and installations.
Now's the time to invest in your home. Buy today and don't pay until 2024. That's right, 0 down and 0 payments until 2024. Call today.
You'll be treated to friendly, professional, and fast service from their experienced team. Thanks for calling Preferred. How can we make you smile today?
The moment Nick and I came and visited Greenville, it felt like home. We are constantly out downtown walking around, and I cannot think of a better place to raise our family. I understand the morning's fast-paced. The sooner I can tell you about a delay, the sooner you can get out the door, get to work on time, get to school on time. I don't want someone's day to start off bad because they get stuck in traffic.
Your trusted morning team, WYFF News 4 Today.
When weather is breaking news.
Look at all this lightning.
Trust Chief Meteorologist Chris Justice and the WYFF News 4 weather team.
It is absolutely pouring right now.
Instant updates on problem spots with live Super Doppler 4.
These are our active flash flood warnings.
From local storms to hurricane impacts.
This is a lot of rain, folks, and there's more to come.
Focused on how the forecast will impact you.
We've got hail concerns.
The team you trust in severe weather. WYFF News 4.
Afternoons hit a high note with back-to-back hours of music, inspiration, and fun.
That's what I like to hear.
The Jennifer Hudson Show at 2. The Kelly Clarkson Show at 3.
This is so good.
Strike the right chord in your afternoon.
Hey, there you go.
Jennifer and Kelly, followed by WYFF News 4 at 4.
You can count me in, Kelly Clarkson.
Weekdays on WYFF 4.
Woo!
The first person to survive Alzheimer's disease is out there. And the Alzheimer's Association is going to make it happen by funding scientific breakthroughs, advancing public policy, and providing local support to those living with the disease and their caregivers. But we won't get there without you. Visit alz.org to join the fight.
Anyone can choose to make a difference. You can help people succeed, rebuild after disasters, protect the environment, or feed the hungry. Not only will you make a difference for others, but for yourself. You can earn money for college, learn career skills, and make friendships that last a lifetime. Make a difference. Choose your future. Choose AmeriCorps.
A political group called No Labels is trying to create a unity ticket that some states could see on the ballot in 2024. One of those states is North Carolina. It would be a unity ticket, meaning a Republican and a Democrat could run for the White House together. Taggart Houck has more, in case you missed it.
The State Board of Elections in North Carolina officially recognized the No Labels Party after surpassing the nearly 14,000 signature threshold.
I'm a lifelong Democrat, but I put my country first. And I think most of Americans do the same as well.
The group's national director is Joe Cunningham, a former South Carolina congressman and Democratic candidate for governor. And the idea is to have a Democrat and Republican run together, one as president, the other as VP.
And we're looking to get on over 20 states by the end of the year, and ultimately in all 50 states plus Washington, D.C., so that every single American has that freedom and has that choice and can potentially have somebody to vote for as opposed to just voting against.
The group has not yet committed to running and says it would do so if the majority of Americans see the Democratic and Republican nominees as unfavorable.
Trump versus Biden rematch will definitely fit that mold, barring any change in circumstances. Secondly, we will only run a ticket if there's a clear pathway to victory in the Electoral College. And our polling and data shows that there is.
But support for a third-party option has dwindled in recent years. While Ross Perot had close to 20% in 1992, Gary Johnson had just over 3% in 2016.
I don't think we've ever been in a position like this in recent history where voters are so desperately craving more options. We won't be entertaining this unless we believe that there was a pathway to victory.
That was Taggart Houck reporting. The group is working to get on the ballot in South Carolina and Georgia. Thank you for joining us for the Record. We want to examine issues important to this community. If you have an idea for a story or an issue you think needs a deeper conversation, email us at the address on your screen, fortherecord@wyff4.com. Thank you and have a great Sunday. We'll see you back here next time.